We all have a story to tell. What can you learn from other people's life experiences, both winning and learning? See, in sports, you win and you lose when the scoreboard hits 0. But in life, the clock is always ticking. So you might as well learn. Winning and learning, never losing. There's a recipe for success, and there's a recipe for repeating. I think you said it very well, like, to speak to the king in a man, when you speak to the joker in a man, you're going to get the joker, right? When you speak to the king, you're going to get the king. You should get the king. Sure. And it's a man's job, and that's why it's important for both people in a relationship to obviously kind of know their role, and we'll be able to contribute. I want to talk about the process of life. I want to talk about life experiences. I want to talk about trusting the process. So I just want to do my part and give back to the community, give back to the youth, and hopefully it touches somebody's lives and motivates them. And that's really what it's all about. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show, Chalk Talk, the open playbook of life. Coach here, Mark Mendez, the real estate coach. Excited to have 2 ladies on the set today. My guy Bailey, happy anniversary to Bailey and Mo. They're out on some paradise or something, who knows. We want to give our thank you to our sponsor, Alternative Solar, for again allowing us to use the venue and providing some great, they're giving away a Tesla. You know that?
I saw that.
They're giving away,
yeah.
Can I just get a Tesla for, I don't know if I gotta get a roof first, you know what I'm saying? So to my right, your left is Coach Serta.
Morning.
All right, and Bailey would be here, but today I have my special friend, my very good friend, Miss Tracy Ross Garcia.
Yeah.
Can't forget the Tracy Ross Garcia. And always behind the camera, our guy Elliot with.
Where grinding never stops.
You kind of almost
I
slipped.
I did almost slip.
She slipped on that one. So we're grinding never stops, my guy. He's putting out some clothing, some jumpsuits. I'll be in a jumpsuit maybe later. I don't know. I need red. Red's my favorite color.
I think he has red. Yeah.
Well, he just told me that yesterday. Yesterday I asked him. He thought I was telling him I wanted that one, and I was asking him if he had other colors. I was like, other colors? I guess I didn't put a question mark. But anyway, go check him out on Instagram. So today we are going to talk about Miss Tracy Ross, who is a life coach herself. Oh, shout out to my shirt though. My Marbach, my guy, Eric Ankrum, my first ever quarterback at Columbia. I protected him, and now he's making shirts. Nice. So I see you got a certified.
Shout out to AGB.
Never mind.
Are we shouting out?
Yeah, what is that?
Elevate by Imani, my little niece, 8th grade, 14 years old.
Eighth
Student
grade.
athlete, yeah, doing big things.
That's dope.
I think she's on Instagram, Elevate by Imani.
Nice.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What is the Elevate? What does she get there?
So she says Elevate, it's a lifestyle, right? And it's about just raising the bar, taking it to another level.
An 8th grader.
Yeah.
An 8th grader or 8 years old?
No, she's in 8th grade.
Oh,
She
okay.
just turned 14. She's a hooper, baller. She's
Oh,
out there.
okay. Man, you have to check her out.
Yeah.
I like that. Hey, little young entrepreneurs. I've noticed that, now that I'm not teaching the coach and have some of my kids on Instagram, and I have them, they're like, some of them are making cakes, some of them are making costume jewelry, and I'm like super excited when I see the young people
I love it.
kind of step out of their comfort zone and start their own little business. So how you doing?
I'm great.
How many months?
Yes, I am about a little bit over 6 months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little over
Counting
6 months.
down. I've reached the peak.
Boy or girl?
It's gonna be a surprise.
Oh, it's a surprise. Well, actually, no, I'm gonna let you know. No, I'm joking.
So you're waiting to the day.
I'm waiting till, yes.
Wow.
Is that your first time?
Yeah, we've always wanted to. So this will be baby number 5.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. I had 3 boys, and then my little girl, she'll turn 3 in a couple weeks.
You got to start in 5.
Yeah.
Like literally now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So we'll see. I couldn't wait to figure out what we were having, and now it's like, I just want a healthy baby that likes to sleep.
That likes to sleep. Is that's not normal for babies, is it? Because
Actually, my big girl, she's a good sleeper. She's
Really?
a good sleeper and a good eater. So
I wouldn't know anything about that, so I just don't sleep regardless. She gets mad at me all the time. It's like,
sleep's important. You
I
gotta
agree.
prioritize it.
I mean, I try, but it doesn't happen. Always up. So tell me a little bit about what's going on with you right now.
So I am making a baby right now. So I kind of in a season where I just have to learn to step back. This is not my first rodeo, like I said, and I've always been kind of, I've done it so many different ways. I was a mom who was still trying to get my education degree and find myself in life, and then I was a mom with a career and bringing my breast pump to work and doing all that, and then I was also a mom trying to figure out how to really balance life and work and success and my goals, but overwhelmed, right? And so I was able to, I had to make a decision, and I stopped working. So I was a stay-at-home mom, which was very new to me because I have this natural ambition to go.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of embrace that season. And now I'm like, you know what? I know these are cycles. Like, things don't last forever. There's always going to be like these ups and downs, and you just have to, not push against that resistance that's sometimes there. So now I'm like, you know what? I do yoga, maybe 20, 30 minutes a day, and I take care
With
of my
number 5?
family. Yeah, and so I'm not like on this rush that I used to be on, like, the time, like, oh, when is this gonna happen? And always looking for the next thing, always trying to get ahead of myself. I'm just really present this time, which feels really good.
Where do you think you find that calmness? So I want to talk about a couple of things that you mentioned, because the show is obviously going to be, I think, very good for the women audience that that we have. But so you talked about those different areas, like where you've lived, because a lot of people right now are, or not a lot, but say you have a mom that's still working, and then you have a mom that's, having to provide for their family still, so they have no choice. And then you eventually grew into this just being in the present. So where do you think that comes from?
Learning.
Okay.
And really kind of making mistakes and embracing it, and really kind of there's this process of asking yourself, like, what is it that I want? And I think a lot of times we spend living our life like on someone else's terms, like, what do they want? What do they expect from me? And so I remember kind of being in that space where it was like, oh, my definition of success has really kind of transformed.
Evolved,
transitioned over time, where it's like before success was like, okay, I need this 6-figure career, and I'm gonna be super mom and do all these things. But when you're living in it, and it's like, it's not success. This don't feel right. This doesn't feel good to me. So taking a step back and humbling yourself a little bit to just be like, well, what is it that I'm looking for? And then going after that without fear of the judgment, or what are people going to think of me, or letting go of what your idea of success was and kind of reevaluating, what that is for you today. So for me now, it's not about a 6-figure salary in a corner office, which is like what I had my eye was on that prize. It's about being able to spend time with my children, make memories with them, still work on myself, be a happy mom, be somebody that works on themselves and doesn't depend on someone else for happiness, but I know how to create that for myself. Those are the things that are important to me now.
Okay. You got a question?
No, I think you kind of hit it on the head. I think it's just evolving and expectation reality, right?
Yeah.
As mothers and working mothers and wanting to have certain things, it's a battle in the beginning, trying to balance, what you think you should have and what you should be. I know I struggled with that when I had the kids because you have to step back. You have twins that are 5.
Yeah.
So you have to step back from these roles of working these hours, trying to get to the next level. But I also learned that I cannot be a stay-at-home mom.
It's hard.
That was probably harder than going to work. Like
Wow.
it was a whole so much respect to women that stay home. I used to think, oh, I want to be stay-at-home mom. No.
Girlfriend.
I did it for 2 years and I'm like, I thought I was gonna lose my mind. It's hard. It's
What
so
what
hard.
is like, just for the men out there that would like, you know, what is hard about being a stay-at-home mom?
There's no break. There is no, when you, for
There's
me,
no break, and you don't get paid for any of it.
You are, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you are clocked in, you know, being mom, being teacher, being cook, being cleaner, it was just, there was no separation
I
of
think-
self for me.
Yeah. Oh, you said that. I was going to mention that. I think the hardest thing is losing your identity
Yeah.
in it, because you just become. Your people depend on you to just be there for them, and then you stop really working on yourself to the point where it's like, well, you know, who am I now? What do I like? Because it's just about the kids, or it's about keeping the home, you know, with harmony. And yeah, it's a challenging season. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Pour all day into everybody and everything.
So I think on something on that, like, so there's people obviously that are not stay-at-home moms, but I think you said something. You lose yourself in the day-to-day grind, right? So whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you're working at a job, right? You said you lose yourself.
Yeah.
How can someone who is maybe doesn't have kids or not, you know, not in the family, but they're just in like a rut, like, you know, we talked about Bailey before because I know Bailey's not in his purpose, and I bring him up. Even if he's here, we will talk about this. But he does not like what he does on a day-to-day basis. So how would you coach somebody to, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or whether you're working a job that you really hate, but you know it's either a good paying job, it provides to put food on the table, and it's what's a necessity to allow yourself to keep growing? Like, how would you coach someone to keep growing?
I think that if it's important, you make time for it. Even if it's 10% of time. If it's an hour or 2 day, like, you know, that's one of the things that I tell the women that I coach. It doesn't have to, it's not going to happen overnight. And, you know, a lot of the women that I talk to are overwhelmed. And it's like, well, if you can carve out even an hour in your week, you know, 20 minutes in your day by waking up a little bit earlier, waking up before your mom, you know, waking up as yourself, like with your cup of coffee, with the word, with something that allows you to connect with yourself. God's going to show you answers, but you just got to spend that time with them there. And it's not, you know, not everyone has the luxury of, you know, having that me time, but you can create it. You can find it, especially if it's important. For people who have these careers that they're in that they don't love, but they're getting things done, then make time for your hobbies, make time for the things that you do love. And if you have that desire there enough, I'm a firm believer that your faith will allow you to open those doors up for you, for it to be more of your life rather than less of it. But you've got to be, it's that belief, right? I mentioned faith, and it's just that belief. Sometimes people just don't believe. People don't believe that there's something out there better, or that they can be doing something better, that they can turn it around. If you don't believe it, it's not going to happen for you.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I even created the gift plus your why is your purpose, because it was just one day, and you know, probably listening to E.T. and he talks about gifts, and he talks about how the Bible says, you know, your gift will make room for you. And then he talked about the why. Like, I just don't think people understand, like, you have a gift.
Yeah.
And your gift is not always going to be what you think it is.
Right.
You know, people want the gift of. I have a friend she's looking to start a business, and I can't tell it yet because she would kill me if I brought it. But we had this talk last month, and it seems like a very simple idea, right? But what she's doing with it is she's using her gift to really create this business, right? Versus I think a lot of people will try to get into something that just either makes them money or that it's going to be a fast, quick, thing. You have to find your gift and truly believe that it will make room for you. So to talk about when you found your gift, and does your mom still ask you if you have a real job or when you're getting a real job?
Yeah. No, she hasn't really harassed me about it.
No, not lately.
No.
So women, you mainly coach women, right? Do you coach any men?
My husband.
Okay. Hey, Carlos.
Yeah, shout out. No, he tells me all the time. He's like, I was your first client, and it's true.
That is. So, how did you get into this part of, and what season did you kind of get into that in your life?
So, when I had my youngest son, who's 5 now, I was working a job that on paper, it was perfect. It was everything I needed. I was a director, and I made this huge jump in my career, and then I started my master's program. I finished my master's program while I was pregnant, had my baby, and went for maternity leave, and then I had some kind of time out, right? And I was like, what am I going to do? It's like, I can do it. I had my 2 boys at home, a new baby, I had a little bit of help. My husband's career was kind of taking off too, and so there was kind of this pull, right? There was resistance. I mentioned resistance before, and before I'd be the type of person that would just push against it, and I had to learn to just release and see what happened. And so I did, and so I got my master's degree, and I quit my job.
Give me an example of that.
Mom.
Give me an example of that push-pull, if you have a tangible example.
Yeah, so the resistance that I was feeling is I'm right at the cusp of my next, I knew my next step was going to be a 6-figure, so I was right there. Was going to be, once I got my master's degree, I know the next step I take is going to be that 6-figure job, something that I really love, but then at the expense of what? Because then I was I remember going back after maternity leave, and I was in meetings all day. And I had to pump, right? I know this is personal, but my kid needed food, and I missed 2 pumping sessions, and so I was in my office, well, what am I gonna do? Because my baby needed to eat, right? So I'm thinking these are sacrifices that I'm having to make. It seems very doesn't seem like a big deal, but moms who know, right?
And you're physically uncomfortable.
And it's uncomfortable, and it's I had a boss who it was almost she didn't care, and it's another woman, and she's been a mom before, so I thought she'd have some empathy, but no.
The savage.
And so
life
it was kind of I need to make a decision. This is not how I didn't feel good. It didn't feel. I felt like I was being a bad mom, and then I also felt like I wasn't all the way present at work because I'm thinking about all these other things,
So you're in between,
So and so it's instead of saying, I'm gonna show her, my boss, right? I'm gonna show her, and I can do it. I'm gonna show everybody I can do this. I can be a super mom. But be stressed out and be sad and be crying, it wasn't worth it. And so, but my master's degree, and so there's this kind of this little fight there, where I had to just release it and I had to let it go and see what happened, and God blessed us. I was able to stop working, and one of the big things was that I had the health insurance. My husband, he was an independent contractor as an agent. He didn't have insurance, and so I was like, well, my family needs insurance. I need to stay in this job. He ended up getting a promotion where he ended up getting benefits. So God blessed us. Yeah.
So that was the one thing you were worried about, and then he provided that for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's important because if you listen to it, he will provide for you every time, every single time.
And you don't know how it's going to happen.
Heads,
right.
Out of our heads and out of that fear, because a lot of times we stay in situations because of fear or hypothetical fear situations.
Yeah, and something that won't even happen.
Right. And the moment that we release and let go, that's when full throttle, we just like a sling.
That was good. We stay in things that we probably shouldn't stay in. and I kind of want to transition to a little bit of relationships with that.
Okay.
Because I think that's something you can really help us, me with. No, I might be your second
Okay.
ever.
I got you, bro.
But so I know communication is a big thing for you. But what do you think a healthy relationship? I mean, you talked about your husband being a client, so obviously that's a joke, but y'all must have some sort of
Teamwork.
yeah.
And that goes with communication, but working together as a team, where I feel like a lot of relationships kind of get a little bumpy when it's almost like they start competing against each other. You know, we had that, and there was resistance there where it was like, oh no, well I'm gonna do this, no I'm gonna do this, well I can do it and I can do it better or whatever. Maybe not exactly like that, but that's kind of how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
I even remember there was a point early in our relationship where we tried to work out together. I was like, this is not gonna work. We can't work out together because it was almost like we were competing. Like, oh, he had to tell me how to do something a certain way. I'm like, I already know how to, I've been working out my whole life. Like, you know, where it's kind of like that type A, that kind of masculine energy in me, and we can probably talk about that a little bit later.
We will.
That was coming up, but I had, again, learned to release that. But, you know, it's teamwork. When we started working more as a team and knowing that it wasn't me against him, we were in it together, we have each other's back. It's not 50-50, it's how can I pick up the slack and how can I help you so that when I need help, you can help me. Our entire relationship has kind of been where, okay, now I'm in the lead, and you know, you might need my help, and I'll pull you up as I start climbing, but it transitions. And then where he's, like I said, where he started excelling faster in his career, and it gave me the opportunity to just let go instead of being like, okay, well I need to do it too. He's my teammate. Like he's gonna help me out. He's gonna help and take me there with him. He's not leaving me behind, you know. So teamwork, super important in a relationship. It goes with communication, how you guys talk to each other. I mean, coach, you know how important communication is on a team. When there's people not talking to each other, when someone thinks, they're carrying the team or they're better than someone else, it creates conflict, right?
So, and I'm glad you brought the coach thing up, because as a coach, everybody has a role on the field.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the teamwork, and we have to understand, especially in football, there's 11 guys. In order for a play to work, all 11 people have to do their job. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, there's plays where, we're literally one block away, one, catch away. Everything could have been perfect, and when we throw the ball, the receiver drops it, or quarterback either makes the right read or wrong read, the offensive lineman misses a block. So everybody's job is important. Mm-hmm. But everybody has a role.
Yeah.
Do you think, and you brought this question, this is Serta's question, by the way, don't put this on me like that. Do you think there should be gender-specific roles within a marriage?
I will say yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that...
Or relationships.
I think that there's going to be somebody that's better at certain things than the other. My husband, he doesn't really cook. I don't like to cook, but I'm probably better at doing it than him. I have more time to do it and spend than he does. Mm-hmm. As a mother, I'm more nurturing. My husband's a great father, but especially in the early stages of nurturing your children, I feel like it's important for me to step up and do a little bit more. But once, especially once the babies are potty trained and he's like out, he's taking them all kinds of places. But yeah, there are just really something hard for me to kind of embrace. I was in that season of being a stay-at-home mom, and I'm like, gosh, I want to go to work. I have to cook. I gotta clean. I gotta do all this laundry. Like, just let me go to work.
To go to work.
Yeah, go to work. It's so much easier to go to work. But I will tell you, once I embraced it, things just started being so much better. Like the Bible talks about the submissive wife, right? And that was always like something I'm like, I'm not doing that, you know. I was that woman, I was that wife. Like, I'm not gonna do
like
that.
99% of the women. No, I'm just kidding. See, I'm gonna get into so much trouble on this thing.
However, there's truth in it. Once I was able to kind of just embrace, like, you know what, God doesn't get things wrong. Like, he says these things for a reason. What happens if I do, right? Again, that resistance was there for me to just push against it. I'm not going to do that. But what happened when I just saw it through different eyes, saw it through a different lens, and said, you know what, let me try. Let me see what this is like. Let me see what this is about. And it opened up just, my husband stepped his game up. He was able to do things with his career that allowed me to really kind of just like have more free time, which sounds crazy, you know, but like I said, it just opened up a new world for us, because I was able to kind of step into that role as just being like, you know, I am going to cook, I am going to clean, I want him to have a warm meal when he comes home, because he's the provider, and he is doing all these things that we want our king to do. And so what's my role? What should I be doing? And how can I embrace that and do it in a way where it's not like, you know, I don't have resentment.
That's a great focus.
Yeah.
And I
Or
think
the
you touched
pure
on
heart.
something was really important. You know, a lot of times we want to, you know, this is something that you, as a woman, and people may agree or disagree with this statement, but you want a king, but you don't want to treat him like a king.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I was raised in the church, and so that was a big part of seeing my mom take care of my father in that regard, work and come home and do stuff, but still being that submissive wife. And I'm not saying to the point where you're selling yourself short. That's not what I mean, you know. But again, I feel like when you take that role and you treat him like the king, you're treated like the queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and then of course it's just
There's harmony.
I mean, harmony is a good thing. I think from the men's side, though, like, men have to step up to, in my opinion, we have a man problem in this world. The man problem in the world is that men aren't doing their job.
In what regards?
Raising men.
Okay.
I think society's gotten softer because of that. And I don't even want to say this. This would be so much controversy on the show. But I don't want to say it. I'm scared to say it. But I don't think women can raise men the way a man should raise
I don't think there's anything wrong with that statement.
and it's not to say women aren't doing it successfully. That's not what I'm saying. But
There's a role.
there is a role,
that
and
plays that
I think you said it very well. Like, you know, to speak to the king in a man, you know, when you speak to the joker in a man, you're going to get the joker, right? When you speak to the king, you're going to get the king. You should get the king.
Sure.
And it's a man's job, and that's why it's important for both people in a relationship to obviously kind of know their role and play their role well. But I think it's important that what you're saying is, like, you've been through all phases, and not to lose yourself.
Yeah.
But losing yourself, like, you wanted a career, right? The 6-figure career. You're in a career, right, where you're in a demanding time right now. So evolving in your process and realizing sometimes it's going to change for people, I don't think we do that good enough. Like, we don't realize, okay, or hit checkpoints in our lives, right? Maybe it was your first kid, second kid, where you checkpoints, so it's like, okay, this is my new either goal, or this is where I need to get to next. Because if I don't change my mindset, if I don't change my trajectory, and a lot of times, unfortunately, marriages are what suffer from it, is because people don't get on the same page. You know, it's important if, you know, Carlos is a provider, right? Well, he's got to really be a provider.
Right.
You know, it's the same way, you know, if a woman's going to be submissive, you know what the Bible says, then the man has to be all of that, covering them, praying for them, you know, being the provider, and all those things is what a man has to do. And either way, if he's not doing that, he shouldn't be able to tell you to be submissive.
That's true.
You know, so let's talk about. Y'all good on that?
Yeah.
I mean, we sure. And we could,
Yeah, if you want to, is there anything else you want to bring
what,
up? I
what
know
did you
you.
say earlier that we want to talk about also? I forgot. I should have wrote it down. But what would you say? Oh, we talked about dating, right? So let's kind of reverse it. Let's go to dating, and getting into this and finding the right person. And I'm gonna be taking notes on this the most.
Well, for the record, the dating game has changed
the dating
since, me and my husband have been together for 16 years,
okay.
married for 11. It's not the same. I know that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things that as a woman, that if you are, on the market, or if you are looking, there are certain things that you should look for, outside of, salary, what his job is, what his benefits are, what his bank account looks like, all those things, and be able to find like real qualities that you can work with. I mean, me and my husband, we met when we were young.
Mm-hmm.
We both didn't really have too much, too many assets or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I knew he was very ambitious. He had a great relationship with his grandmother, his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So the type of respect that he had for women, and he was kind, and generous, and so those were qualities that I saw in him that, I was like, I can work with this. We can work on this together, and I'll help build him up while I build myself up. Of course, it wasn't all that smooth, but we helped each other to be who we both are today, and it. Now he's this top 10% man, but that's not who he was when I met him.
I don't even know what you're talking about, top 30% man. That's crazy. Should dating be different, or why? We talked about the dating scene has changed. Like, I talk about life experiences all the time, right? Why has it changed so much, you think?
Technology and the comparison game. I think people always just see like the highlights, and people try to compare what that looks like for them. This world of social media that we live in, that's just how we communicate. That's what we think the reality is, and it's not. In fact, that's not reality. That's like the highlight reel, right, like people always say. And so we try to live up into these unrealistic expectations of what it's supposed to be. Nobody sees what happens behind the scenes. Me and my husband have a great relationship, and we still date, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're married 11 years, and we still go on dates. But there was a lot of work behind the scenes to get us to where we are. And you've got to be willing to put in that work.
I think people are waiting too a lot. People are waiting later in life to get in relationships, and so I feel that people are more set in their ways at these older ages, and maybe not as willing to grow with somebody, because I know that a 20-year-old is a little bit more flexible in their than a 40-year-old. Like, no, this is you know what I mean. So
not if you do yoga.
So I think that might have something to do with the dating world now too, is that you feel as a 40-year-old, or and I'm saying you as in, I'm speaking to myself.
You're 40?
I'll be 40 this year, yeah. That a man at 40 should have this, and that. You know what I mean? Versus a 20-year-old, well, they may not have all those things. We'll work on them together. So I think that might have something to do with.
So, but let me ask you this on that. Like you're saying, and a man, to me it's contradictory a little bit, because you're saying a man at 40 should have this, and that. But what if a man at 40 is just really coming into finding themselves?
And I'm totally good with that, because that's where I'm at. I'm 40, and I can honestly say I'm in a season of just really finding myself, and dealing with my issues, and dealing with myself in that regard. So yes, I can see how that works too, but.
Do you think the dating scene has changed, or because maybe there is a man problem in women, or the independent woman? I
think that has a little bit to do with it. I think we have, I I kind of touched on it earlier. I don't know if it was on the recording or not, but this like masculine energy that we carry with
that's what it
us.
was.
Yeah, yeah. Of and I think it just has to do with maybe that's just how society has evolved these days, where we're like this independent woman and we're going after these certain things. And maybe we were raised only by our mom and we saw them have to do all these things. And then maybe also, I tell my husband this all the time, you know, and this was kind of like a little point of tension early on in our relationship, where it's like, yeah, he saw his mom, he was raised by his mom, do X, Y, and Z, do it all. And then so that was the expectation for me to do it all. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to work, I'm working too, you know, and there's some of this that you could be doing. So getting on the same page there, like, you know, what is my role and what is your role, and how are we going to fill those in a way that we are complementing each other. But yeah, that being able to, as a woman, embrace what that a more feminine side of things, so that he can be a man, and so that we can kind of lift him up and make him feel, and you know, not in a way where it's kind of like condescending or anything,
right.
but where you know, again, back to being submissive and having just that sharing some of that feminine energy and letting go of some of that masculine energy, so that leaves more room for him to be the man, right? And not to say also that maybe sometimes males have a little bit of feminine energy too, which is not bad, which isn't bad.
What is feminine energy from male? What does that look like?
Having emotions, sharing what their emotions are, and not trying to just be this like tough and I got it. And
No, I'm an emotional creature. Like, I'm the most sensitive. Ellie, you better stop laughing behind that camera. But I feel like that is not something that is welcomed or received well from today's women.
I think it's just a matter of creating a safe space with your partner. You know, if you have that communication where this is a safe place, you can let your guard down. I am not your enemy. You know, I'm here to lift you up when you can't lift your. You know, I see this vision in my head all the time of a man and then the woman behind him just holding his arms up, you know, because sometimes that's our role. We're not next to him where, you know, ideally we would like to be next to him, but sometimes we have to get behind him and lift his arms up, you know. So if a man feels like this is my safe place, I can release these emotions, these feelings, I think it only for me would make a relationship stronger, because you have that vulnerability and you know that they feel safe with you in that regards, that you're not gonna, you know, bash them forward or make them feel like, oh, what kind of man are you, you know? So I feel like it strengthens the relationship in that sense.
I feel like I'm just gonna have a whole session with y'all.
Sharing those emotions, but also being able to let the woman know that you're there to protect them as well. I think that's one of the qualities about my husband is that I liked too, was that I felt safe, right? I felt protected. I didn't feel like, you know, I remember dating somebody in college and I did not feel protected. It did not feel that way. And I thought that was like my ideal guy in my head, but I'm like, I feel stronger than he is, you know? And I don't think it should.
Is that protection like literally physically, or is that like more of a covering?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit physical, but just knowing that he has your back.
In all regards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some good stuff. Good stuff.
What about dating for you? What's
no, don't do that. What time we got? We're good? Okay. Cut. Show's over. Let's not go there.
So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going
To
kind
me
of
or?
no.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to revert back a little bit. So I know that you life coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that entail? You know, if somebody says I'm a life coach, kind of give us an idea of what you do and how you help and how you kind of got into that.
Okay, yeah, I think we didn't full circle on that question earlier, but I got into it when I stopped working. I was at home with my son and I had a master's degree, and I was like, well, I just invested all this education into myself. What am I going to do? And still kind of having that mindset where, like, you know, success was this certain way for me. So I was I started with doing just consulting and working. I had 2 business partners, and we still do a little bit on the side where we are working with small businesses and helping them build their brand, whether it's creating their website for them, and I was doing creating content, which was whatever they needed for their website. How are they going to communicate their brand to the people? And then what I learned by working with the few small businesses that we were working with was that there was just this disconnect. There was a gap between who the person running the business or the business that they were creating and who the person was. Basically, like, who do you have to be to have a successful business, right? So I would ask questions kind of like, well, what are your goals? Like, how do you see your business in, 2 years, 5 years? And they didn't really have like an answer. Like, well, they knew they wanted success. They knew they maybe financially how they wanted to see them, but who did they want to be, right? And that goes a lot into, especially if your business is your brand, right? And that's who you're presenting to your audience, is like, okay, well, who do you have to be? And like, who do you have to really embrace that, right? You can't like say, I'm the real estate coach, but, behind the scenes, you're somebody else that's like, not uplifting, and you're not doing these things. How can you be that and show who you are in your business, right? And so I would kind of talk to these business owners about, well, how do I even create goals for myself? Like, I don't know what my,
These are like business owners that didn't know this stuff?
Yeah, and I mean, they had like maybe kind of surface level things, but when it really came down to it, because I think I was thinking for myself, like how I got really kind of lost in where my career was and what success meant for me, I really wanted to help them make that connection for what it meant for them. Like, so if you're running this business and you're working, 90 hours a week, is that really what you're wanting? Or are you wanting it to be to where you're creating freedom for yourself? And how are you going to create freedom for yourself? How are you going to continue to work on yourself and be an asset to your business, especially if you're the only person working on your business? So it was a lot of people who were, overwhelmed, the only person in their business. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to, social media is a big thing. And that's kind of my background is communications, marketing, and PR. So, sharing with them like ways to like manage their schedule, like how they want to show up on social media. What are the messagings that they do want to get out when they are on there? How to build their confidence, in their business. So a lot of like inner work. Sure, yeah. I think it mostly had to do with who they were rather than like, and my background is communication strategy. So we talked about the strategy, but also like, well, who do I need to be to carry out this strategy? Yeah.
I love that because I think you found, you used your education to find something that meant more meaningful for you.
Yeah.
Versus it could have been a corporate job that you, like you said, you could have been making that 6 figures and maybe, not been as happy. But now and like you said, God doesn't make mistakes. So you went through all that. You went through your life experiences, as we always talk about on the show. And then it really molded you into now this season of your life where you can take that experience of not only life and then helping other people connect their why. And how am I doing on my branding, by the way? Pretty good?
Yeah.
I'm all right. That's
you
really
did.
important.
You kind of made that connection for yourself. I like it.
I did. Obviously leaving coaching, which I love, but realizing I needed a different vehicle to impact more people, right? And I wouldn't have been able to do that staying as a coach.
Yeah.
And it was hard, man. It was hard for sure. Like for sure. I get emotional. I miss the kids. I do. But I think a lot of them are watching, and a lot of them are liking it. But we have to be able to move. The more and more we talk about the process, and I believe in the process so much, the more I keep going back to, you said the process is ever evolving. I never really thought about how the process just evolves so much. I think you got to have those ingredients like we talked about, but what I'm going with this is like your process is completely changed, but you use your gifts that you have and then your actual education. And I think people get stuck in not knowing how to evolve.
Yeah, I think they, in their head, they think it has to look a certain way.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there too. I was there where it's like, oh, well, that wasn't the path that I thought that I was supposed to be taking. But again, as long as you said it's this evolving process, as long as you are like kind of staying with, okay, true to who you are. And another one of those things is like listening to that inner voice that's kind of that guidance for you, and making time to even hear that or be in touch with it. Kind of tells you if you're on the right path, where you're feeling like, okay, well, where do I need to pivot? Where do I need to kind of pause or kind of be still for a second so I can make sure that the next step I take is getting me in the direction that I want to go. Some business owners that I worked with, it's like, oh, well, I need to, I don't know, maybe I need to hire someone. I need to hire somebody. And I'm like, well, is that really what you need to do? Or is that what you think the next step is? And so kind of being able to hold space for them to really talk through what's next for their business. I think that's a really important thing in coaching that I do, is because the business owners are so busy, that you're just like always in your head and you have these ideas, but you don't know how to implement them or how to prioritize, how I want to make the next move or what's the right thing to do. But when you have that space for them with somebody who has, just a neutral stance on it, and who kind of has some experience and some knowledge of just the space to share those things with that are going on in your head, and to kind of help you kind of, talk through it, plan it out, get it on paper and execute it. And, a lot of times people are just like afraid to even take the step, right? They don't want to fail. They don't want to mess it up, but you've got to see it and you've got to like move in order to correct. If you're too afraid to take action, then you're never going to get anywhere.
Execution, to the ET conference is all about execution, because like you said, people have great ideas. I think COVID is really, it's like the side hustle of the world. Like everybody has a side hustle, and that's definitely not a bad thing, no. Right? But it's like a lot of times people will wait till their back's against the wall. And I'm one of those people that I work better when my back's against the wall. Mm-hmm. But you have to try to grow in that, because if COVID didn't happen and people weren't losing jobs and people like, these people had these resources and these gifts all along. Yeah. But nothing made them, nothing was forced. And I think God will do that. You'll be forced into a situation if you're not following what you're supposed to be doing to really get on something. I think everybody in here is kind of self-branded, right? But also with that is your character is so important, Yeah. How you treat people is so important, because I don't think I get business with real estate because I'm the smartest realtor. I think I'm pretty good, but I work on my craft. I learn, I read things on the market and things like that. But, the majority of my business is sphere of influence. Yeah. Because of how I've treated people. I think, it's my opinion that I've treated people fairly, no matter whether you're the janitor, the kid that I just hired at the call center at 18. I was trying to mentor you then. Mm-hmm. And then now you're like 30 something, and now they just remember that saying is, people
remember how you made them feel.
Right. So it's like, they'll never forget how you made them feel. So, all right, Tracy. So I kind of want to circle back to the relationship thing. Maybe because I'm selfish. I don't know. But you talked about. I want to know if you can give me 3 things that you think is the most important to have in a successful relationship. You talked about teamwork.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on the communication, but what other things?
Yeah, teamwork and communication. Of course, communication always sounds like one of those like cliche, like you've got to communicate. But I think more than just like talking to each other like daily, because we kind of have to do that, but knowing what our communication styles are. Like 5 Love Languages was a book that we read before we got married, and understanding that you guys might not have the same language, but understanding each other's language is definitely beneficial. Like, for example, mine is acts of service. So like when my husband is like washing the dishes for me or for, I don't say for me, for us, that like to me, that's, oh, he loves me, you know, and he is a very words of affirmation. So he likes, you know, kind of praise and just kind of, you know, you look nice or whatever it is. But also to know that when he is not communicating in my love language, washing the dishes or whatever, but he is telling me like, oh, you're beautiful today, then he is still expressing and communicating with me in his own way. And so just got to recognize that, you know, instead of like, you know, being resentful or whatever, that he's not.
Like, I don't care how I look, go wash some dishes.
Yeah. Really show me. So being able to communicate in that way and understand each other in that way. And I think, you know, even being able to talk about the hard things, you know, things like budgets and finances and things like sometimes women don't want to hear about.
You were online shopping?
COVID did it. I was never an online shopper.
Yeah.
I was never an online shopper.
Oh, really?
But then Amazon is like just right there and it's so easy.
I just discovered Prime also. I'm a little late to the game.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't do online shopping, but I even heard about Prime.
It's horrible.
But being able to have those types of conversations in a positive light, where it's not like where there's a problem or there's an issue, but scheduling times to whether it's once a month, once a quarter, where it's like, you know, you're having coffee together and you're happy and you're talking about things from a joyful place. That are hard conversations. It doesn't have to be finances, but whatever the hard conversations are in the relationship, to you know, make time in a positive light, just like proactively instead of reactively. So communication. I also think trust is a big one. If you don't trust each other, it's very hard to move forward, right? It's hard to and one of the things that has allowed my husband and I to really build trust in our relationship is our own confidence, our own self-confidence, and who we are. I remember, you know, when you know, I was working on myself and getting my degree and things like that, and you know, he wasn't quite there yet, and he was really lacking in confidence, and it was really hurtful to our relationship because he didn't trust me on certain things, and it was like, well, I had to like be real careful about, you know, who I was hanging out with and things like that. But once he's built himself up and once he had the confidence and, you know, he's like feeling like the man and I'm like helping him feel that way, the trust is just up there, you know, and we're able to talk about like he's not no longer jealous if I have like guy friends and I know that he's going to be working with women in his career. So there's not like that those trust issues that are going on because we both have this like self-confidence in ourselves to where we don't depend on one another for, you know, for that to fill that void of you know, what we're lacking or what we're missing. And then I'd say the third is love. And I think it sounds like, you know, duh, you need love in a relationship, but you do need more than love, and those other two things do complement it really well. And I think love is where it comes to like, you know, this unconditional way you feel about each other, where you want to make that person feel good, right? And like you feel bad when they're like down, and you're doing what you have to do or what you want to do to lift their spirits. Intimacy, you know, I don't know how many kids are watching the show. Like, I don't want to get, you know, go into that, but yeah.
Holding hands the most, kids.
And like me from a baby number 5, you can see, but a healthy, intimate, loving relationship. And sometimes that element is missing, and it really makes it hard for you to have that connection in your relationship. Or maybe that's all you have is just this physical connection, and so the other intimacy is not there. Yeah. So
what I hear now is balance. Like no matter what is your, you know, it's intimacy is the only thing keeping you together. It's not gonna be healthy
if you're lacking
love
it.
Is the only thing keeping you, or like communication is the only thing keeping you together, and you don't have those. It's got to be a balance. I do want to talk about. I think it was important when you said the love language, which I've never read that book. maybe
But
I
you took the
should.
quiz.
I know most
I did,
people.
I did take the quiz, and I'm an affirmation guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I have to be. I don't have to be told, but like that's what
Yeah. It
brings
feels
out in
huge.
me. It's like thank yous, appreciation. Like those are the things that you're doing a good job. You know what I'm saying? But I think the self-assessment part of that. I got asked my title company actually is going to have me do the disc assessment with the ET version, the flight one. So I'm pretty excited about
Nice.
that. They asked me to do that with their whole office.
Oh, nice.
And the reason I bring that up is because you have to self-assess, and I think it was big for you to say, like, Carlos may be saying, hey, you look beautiful today, and that may not be your love language, but that's his love language. So sometimes, us as people, we're giving you out what we think
Yeah.
is going to help, and I mean, I think I do that with people sometimes, like, I'm telling them to do a job, and they don't, like, it doesn't.
Yeah, but
mean
maybe
anything
maybe
to
they're
them.
acts of gift or something, and they
Right.
need like an award. Like you need to like present them with something so that they can
Yeah.
feel
Versus
appreciated.
just words,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And so I think the self-assessment part of it is very mature of you to know, like, okay, I hear him doing that, and that's just what he would want. Mm-hmm. So by giving that to you, you realize he is trying to not go wash some dishes. you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And I think we just need to keep self-assessing ourselves. I think that's the first most important thing is how do we tick?
Yeah.
And that's important, I think, in a relationship. I'm the last person to give relationship advice, but actually, I'm very good at giving relationship advice. It's just bad about being in a relationship. Like,
If you're watching, Mark is single, and
here we go. My DMs. If you self-assess who you are, and then especially in a relationship, if y'all both self-assess and you know what makes each other tick, right? Then you can come together and try to react better to how someone handles the situation. So if you're a high in the disc assessment, if you're a high D versus a high C, like someone that's ET talks about, the high D is like the pilot, and then the I is the flight attendant, the S is the grounds crew, and then the C is the air traffic control.
Yeah.
So each of these are all very, very important, right? But the pilot only cares about getting you from point A to point B. The flight attendant's very much like E, like the experience. The grounds crew is people who are in the background, and then air traffic control is obviously the background also. But we need to self-assess in the fact that we got to know how we react to other people, and this is just not only in relationships but corporate world.
yeah,
Your parents' relationship. I know me and my parents butt heads. Me and my dad butt heads a lot, and that's like me trying to grow is like, okay, I know how he's gonna react.
yeah,
I know. Do not bite on this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the ever growth and evolution that we have. So Tracy, just tell us. I mean, lastly, where people kind of can reach you. And I mean, I just appreciate you coming on. I really wish Bailey was here because I'm sure he. Actually, no, I'm glad Bailey's not here. 'Cause Bailey would have been directing all of the questions towards me and asking you, like, can you help Mark find something, or can you help him? Because the problem is, because Bailey claims to be my life coach. That's my life coach.
I see.
So I don't pay him anything though. Just so you know.
No, it's good to have someone in your corner, though.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So Jennifer, you have any questions before we leave?
No, I think I appreciate the words of wisdom
Thank you.
I
from a
appreciate
woman.
No, yeah, I glad to be on and glad to have this conversation with you. I got into life coaching just because I wanted to be able to help women and just have a safe space to learn and grow about themselves. I always, like, the whole coaching thing was never like anything that I really I feel like it kind of just fell in my lap because I did want to, of course, want to help, but I didn't know how do I do that? But just being available, right? Just being able to again hold space for someone to kind of talk through their challenges. I'm a firm believer. I'm just like a personal growth, personal development junkie, and I love all things personal growth. So if anybody wants to reach out and talk to me about, how to grow, I love fitness. I love to be able to kind of grow in that. We didn't really talk too much about that, which is it's okay.
You are a certified
I am.
yoga
Yes,
instructor.
I do have my yoga certification.
Yes.
I'm currently doing a mommy and baby and prenatal certification too. I kind of just did it to learn more about like my own body and what I'm kind of going through, but also because, I love working out. I love fitness. I know that's right up your alley. You are in that space as well. But most importantly, it's movement. I think that people get so stuck in like, oh, I need to be at the gym for an hour. I need to do all these things and it needs to look this certain way. I need to be meal prepping and all these things. But even if you're just starting, go for walks, a 20-minute walk. I'm a runner. I started running after having babies and knowing that was my only like free time in my my therapy. And so the more time I needed, the further I'd run. So I ended up signing for a marathon, and that gave me like 2-3 hours of just having time for myself, Yeah, so it's just getting out there and moving your body. It allows that energy, that kind of stale energy that's kind of trapped in and locked inside, to move, to just have an outlet for it. So anything, fitness, personal growth, relationships, Tracy G Coaching on Instagram. I'm really active on Instagram, and tracygcoaching.com is my website. So yeah, hit me up.
Well, before I let you go, so personal growth, when you run, do you listen to podcasts or music?
I do. I listen to podcasts or nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Or nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really being in your mind.
Yeah.
What book would you recommend to somebody to start their... before I lose my thought,
Yeah.
I think what you said, movement and just in the gym, the life lesson in that is like just do something.
Yeah.
Get started. Start day one.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to look perfect, That's one of the things with yoga. It's like people think you have to be flexible and you have to do this and that. Yoga is about connecting with your mind and your body. Your breath is so important in yoga, and it translates to other areas in your life. I was actually DMing one of my friends the other day too, and she just started yoga, and she was like, it's just so amazing how like sometimes I'm holding my breath and I don't even know it. Our breath is our connection to life, right? That's our life force. And so sometimes just taking that, good deep inhale, exhale just fills you up and refreshes you. So people, it doesn't have to be an hour, hot yoga session where, move your body. Just get in touch and see how you feel. What is it, what is it telling you? Sometimes we're holding in a lot of emotions in our body. And you talked about hips and hip mobility.
Stress.
Yeah. A lot of people carry their stress, especially women.
My hips and my traps.
Yeah. And so even some hip stretches, like people will start crying because it's releasing something that they didn't know was even there. And
like
so
literally like
emotional tears, not from pain, although it might be.
Carry stress in your head?
I don't think I want to do yoga now. I'll be crying like so bad. Like, oh, my mama didn't love me at 10. My mom was always loving me, so.
But I do one-on-one yoga, and prenatal yoga is what I'm working on now. So any moms that want to get in touch with me for yoga, I'm open for that as well. Yeah, what were you saying?
I'm going to make a promise. I'm going to book one yoga with you.
Go for it.
I'm going to give it a try. We won't
do
film it though. Look, Elliot was like, oh, I'm definitely going for that. You're not filming that, Elliot. But I think I would like to grow and expand it and see what that does.
Let's.
It's good.
That'd be pretty cool. So they can find you on...
You were going to say a book.
Oh, yeah.
Book to recommend.
Well, if you're giving someone that wants to start their personal growth and mindset or whatever they, for maybe the women or just anybody, what book would you recommend?
I know this book sounds like the title of it sounds so obnoxious, but it's a really good book. It's a Napoleon Hill, Think Your Way to Wealth. Think and Grow Rich, I think, is another version of it. But there's 17 principles of success in there that I really adopted. Me and my husband kind of just live by them. And one of them is the Mastermind Alliance, where we get our teamwork aspect, and which really helps our relationship grow. But things like habits, your definiteness of purpose. It talks about just principles that you can apply, enthusiasm, that are just like basic things that will help you grow. And you don't have to, do all of them at once, but there are 17. You can even just look up the principles without even reading the book. But it's a great guideline for how you want to just move forward in your life. And
Think and Grow Rich.
Think Your Way to Wealth.
So it's
Yeah.
a possibility. As long as it's on Audible,
Yeah,
I'm cool.
it's on Audible. And it's one of those you can listen to. I like to listen to it on my runs. The Science of Getting Rich. I know that sounds, and rich not in like a monetary form.
Yeah,
Rich in life,
that's big.
Yeah.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and we I think we really do it. And the more you meet people, like-minded people, it's really for the freedom.
Yeah.
It's
For
not
sure.
nearly.
Yeah.
The money allows the freedom to do things like this,
Mm-hmm.
to give back. I think when you do it with a pure heart and like we're giving back, it's not literally caring about how
Yeah.
much is in your bank.
Yeah.
So, well, I wish we could talk again. You have to come back for
Sure.
sure with Bailey. That way you can help Bailey because he needs help. I'm joking, but
I'll have to bring my husband with me because he's like loves to talk about relationships too.
oh man, I think that'd be a great show.
Yeah.
That'd be a great show, but he can't plug his real estate career. 'Cause, that's my lane.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah. No.
Not at all. Nah, Carlos, a great dude, man, and I've seen his transformation,
Yeah.
especially in the fitness too. So, I get a little jealous sometimes. Like, I'm like, damn, let me get it. Let me go. Sir,
Well, you gotta go to
we need a
session.
session. Calm down. So, I really thank you, sis, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So Tracy G Coaching
Yeah.
on Instagram, and TracyGCoaching.com.
Mm-hmm.
So creative.
I know.
Keep it simple.
It works.
Sir, anything before we close?
No.
No life wisdom lesson nugget. You don't want to drop a nugget?
Drop a nugget.
No nuggets
Be kind
today?
to others. Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. Well, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. I believe this is episode 5 now.
5.
5.
Shoot.
Wow, we're getting up there. So,
All right.
thank you so much. And we want to thank our sponsor, Alternative Solar, once again. My man behind the camera, where grinding never stops, Elliot. And then Certified Fit.
Oh.
Certified Fit.
Certified fitness. Yeah. Certified
See?
fit.
And of course, the real estate coach here. And then Mr. Self-Made is on a beach somewhere. So, thank you for tuning in. Again, we just want to keep encouraging, keep providing some life experiences, different life experiences. Our next episode, we're going to have a Navy recruiter on, talk about the military. So, again, remember your gift plus your why is your purpose, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you. What's up, guys? The real estate coach here, man. Just want to thank you guys for all the support. Chalk Talk, the open playbook of life. Please like and subscribe on the YouTube. Don't forget to hit the notification button so you can get updated on when we drop episodes. And also, if you're trying to catch up on the latest episodes, just go ahead and click right here and you'll see that. So again, we appreciate all the support. Leave some comments, anything that we can do to get better and provide you some topics for the show that'll help you. We're all about it. So remember, your gift plus your why equals your purpose.